Welcome everyone to this week's Survive and Thrive webinar. The topic for this week is your PPP. So you've received your PPP, now what? And I'm joined by a wonderful panel of experts who are gonna talk us through a few different areas with the PPP. We're gonna start at a very high level and then open it up for Q&A, and really nothing's off limits, but we reserve the right to say we don't know, and it might be something that we have to dig into as follow-up. And I will send an email out to everyone after the fact with a recording, and then everyone's email will be on that, so you can reach out to folks if you have additional questions after the fact, and the panelists can respond to the group with answers to any questions that we may not have been able to address today. The other thing I would say is that things are changing every second. And so what we share today may not be the truth tomorrow, and it may not be the truth in 30 minutes from now, but we wanna do our best to help keep you guys informed in terms of what we know. And again, you can reach out to us on an ongoing basis to help you stay in the loop in each of our areas of expertise. So let me just go through the agenda here for today. I'm going to open it up with a little bit on mindset, and then we'll get into the panel discussion. We'll have an open mic of Q&A and other people sharing best practices or insights and information that you have. I've got some offers at the end to share with folks, share some of the future educational seminars that are coming up, and then we'll talk about next steps. All right, so from a mindset standpoint, one of the questions I get a lot from clients is, why do people stay where they're at today? And part of that is because we are creatures of habit, and we like the status quo, and we like our comfort zone, but also is because of fear. You know, fear of the unknown, fear of what we can't anticipate or expect. And the challenge, or the interesting insight about fear is, in most cases, fear can be defined as false expectations appearing real. And what I mean by that is, in our mind, we can come up with a whole bunch of things that we tell ourselves is going to happen. And the reality is that almost none of those ever really do happen in real life. But because we've talked ourselves into it, we paralyze ourselves from being able to take any steps forward because of that fear of what the worst case scenario could be. And just to give an example of that, I want to share with you an illustration here of, this was a test that Action Coach did a number of years ago. We put an advertisement for a job posting in a local newspaper, and the ad itself was the exact same copy, text copy. The only difference is one version said the pay was $50,000, and one version said the pay was $250,000, and it was in the same newspaper section. So which one of those ads do you think got more interest? Anyone? Which one?
Yeah, thank you.
So most people, I think I'm hearing a number of folks saying 250. No, actually, the $50,000 ad got significantly more applications than the 250,000, because we talk ourselves out of our own worth and our own value. Right? So those folks looked at that and said, oh my goodness, I'm not possibly worth 250,000 because I've never made 250,000. So I must be reading that ad wrong, and I'm not going to apply for it because I'm not worth that much. Right? And so just think about that in your own lives, of how many times do you doubt yourself, and do you talk yourself out of what you're worth and what your value is? And especially when it comes to our jobs or our businesses, right? Really think through, are we charging what we're truly worth based on our experiences and our education and our expertise, right? Or have we talked ourselves down to a oh, well, I can't possibly justify that amount, so I'm gonna give a discount, or I'm gonna give a deal, or without them even saying that they're not going to buy it, I automatically jump to, oh, but I can give you a discount on that. Right? And so protect yourself from your own self-sabotage. Right? And a couple ways to do that, we've talked about this in some of the past seminars, is in your morning ritual. Right? Pump yourself up and do that self-talk, do those affirmations, right? Visualize what success looks like, visualize what your worth is, visualize the impact and the difference that you're making in people's lives. And give yourself that motivation and that encouragement to sell your value to others. All right, so it's my pleasure to welcome our panel today. And what I'm going to do is have each person go through and introduce themselves, tell the group a little bit about what they do, and in particular, why they're here today and what they want to share about the PPP. And I'm actually going to have Dana go first because she's got to jump back to her work and take care of some client responsibilities. So we'll have her go, and that way she can cut out a little bit earlier.
Yes, thank you, Tim, for including me in this. And first of all, I do believe that Trump just signed for the second set of PPP. That's what I've just heard a few minutes ago. So I have several clients who are just chomping at the bit to make sure they have all the information needed to get into the second round. What I do know is there were about 1,500 to 2,500, I think it was 2,500 banks that had access for the first round, and now 5,000 have access to E-Tran, which is through the SBA. So they're believing the funds are going to go even quicker than they did last time. So I'm just getting all my clients that didn't get in the first round, or that are newer clients trying to get in, that didn't have me all the information for the first round. But Tim, I'm sorry, what did you exactly want me to say real quick?
Whatever you want in terms of your area of expertise on the PPP, right? Share
Okay.
Folks, right, of 3 to 5 minutes of
okay.
What you do and how can you help us, and what things should we know from your lens of making sure that we're, following the rules and doing everything that's needed.
Vortex tile look. Like how does that tile
look like? I work at Lake City Bank, and I focus more on the small business clients. And so my experience from the first round, which was more of them being able to, it was the clients that have W-2 employees and are able to provide the necessary payroll information. What's becoming more difficult are the folks that take their income via distributions for K-1s, or 1099 employees actually are supposed to apply by themselves. So a lot of small businesses that pay themselves in different ways that aren't necessarily documented via a W-2, or show how they're paying their payroll. It's a little bit more complicated because the SBA is asking for either 2019 taxes or 2019 Schedule C in draft form for us to even be able to submit the request, even though they're not required, they're not due yet, since there's been an extension on your tax return. So that's what's we are able to use profit and loss from 2019 to help them calculate that income. So that's making it a little bit more complicated because not everyone has all that everything finished. So in regards to the folks that have received the PPP funds already, I do, and I know that Amy and Guy probably can help answer this question better. They do have to use the funds from the time they received it for that next 8 weeks for payroll. And before I got on this call, I asked one more time, do we know what the SBA is requiring in regards to forgiveness? And they have not released that information as to exactly what they're going to have to supply to get that forgiveness from the loan. So
we have a question on chat, Dana, here is, what about people who started their business in 2020 and are solopreneurs? Is there any resources available for those folks? And this can be for any of the panel.
That's a good question. Guy, do you know the answer to that?
It's all based on payroll, and a lot of times these startup companies they're not paying even the owner a salary just starting up. There may be some other, trying to think, other alternatives through the SBA. I know Dana has mentioned, you can go online and apply for an SBA loan. Was it 25,000 or something like that?
There's a few different ones, and I can send Tim the link through the Treasury Department under the CARES Act. I know there's a $10,000 one. I believe there's a $25,000 one, and I think there's about 4 different options, but I don't know which ones are going to be forgiven. I just know the PPP, there's forgiveness opportunities.
So I'm also in that boat. I mean, I started my business last year, but I hadn't started paying myself yet. So I don't qualify for the PPP nor the EIDL as they've changed it. Originally, I would have that $10,000 grant, but then they shifted it midway through and have now tied it to $1,000 per employee. So because I'm not paying myself, I don't have an employee. So I haven't found anything that qualifies for myself yet. Any other questions for Dana before we allow her to get back to her craziness?
Mm-hmm.
I have one. Is the EIDL or EDIL, whichever one, do you go through a bank to get that, or is that directly through SBA?
Directly through the SBA.
Okay, thanks.
And Angela, that's the one I was referencing. It originally was a $10,000 grant, and then they've changed it to now just being $1,000 per. The $10,000 part of that EIDL was originally going to be a grant. They changed it now to $1,000 per employee. That was the forgivable part. There's still, if I'm understanding correctly, Guy and Dana, there's still the rest of the EIDL that's becomes a loan. Am I recalling that correctly?
I believe so, and it's more of a more underwriting, I think, with that loan, where financial statements, it's more of you have to qualify for the loan, but there's, as I understand it, there's two prongs of that loan. One is the actual loan, and one is kind of the free money. So just by submitting an application, you're eligible for that. It used to be, like Tim said, $10,000. Now it's $1,000 per employee that they'll give you, I think, just for filling out or completing an application. So if you have 8 employees, you can get $8,000 cash right into your business. And whether or not you end up qualifying for the loan or even taking a loan, I think you can still get that upfront money, which is what a lot of businesses need right now.
Just as an FYI, I did get a call this morning. It was a Washington, D.C. number asking me if I'd received my $1,000 per employee, and told me I could check on that money if I went to SBAstreamline.com. My SBA mentor had called me last night and said, be on the lookout for people trying to scam you. It would be SBA.gov, not .com. So I think that was a scam call.
Yeah, thanks for the heads up, Angela.
Do you know if, I'm sorry. Do you know if the EIDL, if that's back up and running to apply since the funding may be available? Because I tried yesterday and they were not even accepting any more applications.
I know about like I said, I don't know if the EIDL is under that same PPP. Since the PPP's through a bank, I don't know about how the SBA is handling their portal.
Okay. Maybe I'll just go back online and try to see if I could reapply for that.
I did hear that they were having problems with their portal, so I do know that, but that was yesterday.
All right. Any other questions for Dana? All right, well, let's go to Amy and go ahead and give your little overview, Amy. And Dana, whenever you need to leave, you're welcome to. And thank you so much for joining us.
Well, I apologize for being quick. I just didn't know all these. I was going to learn more information about what was changing for clients, and they've already turned everything in, and now I've got to go back to them. So I just want to be able to get them in submitted. So thanks for your.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dana.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amy. I'm with Paycheck. If you don't know what Paycheck is, we are a payroll and HR service provider. We do anything from do-it-yourself payroll to full HR services, and we specialize in small to medium-sized businesses. Like Dana said, there's a lot of uncertainties about exactly what is going to be required to get those loans forgiven and what we need to do to track. So I know half the battle is just getting the loan. So hopefully all of you receive that. If not, hopefully you are lucky enough to get it in the next round. But essentially, the full principal amount and any accrued interest can be forgiven for the funds that are used for the covered cost during that 8-week period. And that does start immediately following the disbursement of the loan. However, the big catch is that the forgiveness is based on that employer maintaining or quickly rehiring their employees, maintaining the salary levels. And it can be reduced, that forgiveness amount, if those full-time headcounts decline or the salaries and wages decline. So at Paychecks, what we're doing to help businesses right now is the first thing is on the HR side. So we're helping those business owners navigate how to bring people back to work quickly, rehire if needed, how to successfully reopen, and maintain OSHA compliance. And I say OSHA compliance because it is a condition of the loan that everyone signed when they applied. On the other side, we're helping business owners with their payroll documentation. So essentially the PPP requires 75% of the loan to be used on payroll costs in order for the loan to be forgiven. And that includes any federal and state tax withholdings and employer costs. So in order to show those funds were used for payroll costs, you will need to provide this meticulous documentation. And this is where we really don't know exactly what it's going to be, but we do know that regardless if you're with a payroll provider or doing it yourself, the business owner will be responsible for maintaining documentation and presenting it to the lender to hopefully get that forgiveness at the end. What we're telling clients is that you will need to maintain payroll tax filings reported to the IRS. You will need your payroll summary reports that reflect the full-time employee headcount and the individual salary and wages over that 8-week period. And in addition to that, you will also need the state income, payroll, and unemployment insurance filings. I know it's all iffy and this was super brief, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys might have that I might be able to answer.
I have a question. My name is Cecilia Whitwell. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. We are a small organization, but we had a driver that we paid, and I use ADP, but we having 2 employees actually. We've never paid into the unemployment part. So what happens about that?
So you had employees that you were paying and they weren't paying the unemployment for you?
Right, because, well, yeah, it was only my driver and myself.
Okay, and you guys were W-2 employees?
Yes, well, my driver is W-2. I was more of a 1099.
Okay. Guy, can you answer what happens if they weren't paying the unemployment on the W-2 employee?
I think as a nonprofit, I don't know if they're required to pay unemployment taxes. Whatever you can do, it doesn't hurt to for your driver to apply for unemployment. The worst thing they can do is they get turned down. But I would say go ahead and apply.
Okay.
From the driver's perspective, just don't assume, like what Tim was saying, you just, okay, I don't think I can do it. Well, the worst thing that they can do is say no. And the best thing is they might qualify.
Oh.
And so then, you know, your employer would be able to get a monthly check or weekly for unemployment.
Okay. Yeah, we are nonprofit, so I wasn't sure how that would work. Thank you.
Yeah, some nonprofits are exempt depending on the classification. So.
Okay. Thank you so much.
So Amy, the things that you said that we're probably going to have to track seems very complicated. So can you guys do that for us if we use your services?
Yes, we do that. So anybody who's already with Paychecks, we are just communicating with their specialists, because part of having Paychecks is you get your own payroll specialist, and they are tracking everything. So they flag that account as, hey, this person has a PPP loan, and we are doing everything we can to track. Because the big thing too is, like, you need to bring back those full-time employees the same amount. So we're also doing a comparative to say, hey, this is how many were here from this selected period. This is how many are now. We're putting it all in a report for them. So when it's time to go to their lender to ask for forgiveness, they have that information. And of course, like Dana said, stuff is changing daily, and we are actively on top of it. So we are adjusting accordingly.
I have a question. I have 3 part-time employees, and one of them filed for and is getting unemployment. So does that mean I don't figure her into the PPP money that I will be receiving, or does that mean that I still continue to pay her and she gets? I'm not sure if getting unemployment negates her from this money.
My understanding, now guys, chime in if I'm wrong, but my understanding is the whole part is to continue to pay them so she no longer has to do the unemployment. Am I correct with that?
I would think, because, the whole point of unemployment is, you're not working. And if you're getting paid, I think you're double dipping, so to speak. And
but she's getting more from unemployment than she would be from me.
Right.
So
I understand that.
Would rather stay on unemployment until the store opens back up.
But if you don't hire her back, then that will affect the forgiveness of that loan, because prior to, you had 3 part-time employees. During this 8-week period, when you get your loan money, sounds like you only have 2 part-time employees. So that figures in the forgiveness formula. So
will she have to? How will she go back and undo the unemployment she's already gotten?
I don't know how that specifically works. When somebody's on unemployment and then they get a job, I'm assuming they get tracked eventually when their next employer starts filing their unemployment tax reports on a quarterly basis.
Okay. She'll be rehired as soon as we open. I mean, I didn't lay her off or anything, but she will continue working for me as soon as we open back up.
Yeah. So Angela, I think the challenge you're describing is many businesses are going to face, which is with all of the increases in unemployment. To your point, employees can make more on unemployment than they can, working for you. However, if you enable that, because some folks are going to want to help their employees out and say that's okay, but it then puts you in a financial position where you won't have that loan forgiven. And so what I'm suggesting is Guy and Amy, please jump in, you have to do what's right for your business. So the loan is forgiven if you're using it to pay salaries. And so I'm recommending folks hire the people, make sure that you're keeping them on payroll or you're bringing them back on payroll so that you're able to get that forgiveness of all of those loans.
Okay.
Thanks. Couldn't you offer your employee hey, you can come back, or I'm going to have to hire somebody else, but after the 4 months or whenever it's done, I can't guarantee you're going to have a job. Or with the loan forgiveness money that you're getting, are you getting enough to match what she's getting or he's getting from the unemployment during that time, and you can bring them in? Just 2 options that might be available for you, because if I knew my job was in jeopardy 2 months later, but I was only going to get an extra $1,200 during that time, I might go take my job back, because on month 3, I'm not going to have that job because you're going to fill it.
Okay.
Just a suggestion.
Yeah, well, I mean, she got her last paycheck like 6 weeks ago, and she hasn't had one from me since. She had to live, so she applied for the unemployment. So now I guess I'll just tell her that as soon as I get the money in my account, I can start paying her, and then she can go off unemployment. Does that sound reasonable?
And yeah, she just reports that online that she found a job. Because you're supposed to report weekly anyways on there that you're looking for work. So she would report that she found a job and put who it's with. So then her next round of payments she wouldn't get. And the next payment she would get would be from you.
Okay, perfect. Great. Thank you.
All right, let's go to Guy, and then we'll open it up to just any general questions afterwards.
Hello, everyone. My name is Guy Halfley. I'm a CPA with Halfley Taylor and Company. We're a small two-partner firm here on the north side of Indianapolis. We specialize in accounting and taxes for small businesses, business income tax preparation, individual income tax preparation. And what I've been telling my clients regarding the PPP loan is, you know, we needed to get up to speed with it, and the thing was changing almost daily, sometimes even hourly. And we're just advising the clients to talk to their bankers, get their applications in as soon as possible, because it's a first come, first serve. And now that this first round is over with, now apparently the second round has just been signed, according to Dana. There's going to be another application process, but once you get your money, you have to account for it. And that's kind of what I've been advising my clients on is, okay, you've got your money. Now you need to focus on spending it correctly on forgivable expenses, which would be, you know, obviously payroll and other non-payroll items like rent, utilities, and mortgage interest. And how best to account for that. I'm telling my clients to set up a separate bank account. And once they get those funds, you put that money into that separate bank account. And the only thing that you spend out of that account are forgivable expenses, meaning the payroll, the utilities, the rent expense, and mortgage interest. And I've even read where if you have an accounting system, you create some type of accounting system where you have sub-accounts where it says salaries and call it PPP loan. So that when rent, PPP loan, so that you can go back and make a few clicks into your accounting system when it comes time to reconcile with the bank is going to come back and say, how did you spend your money? And this is an easier way to reconcile that amount. You just pull up those accounts, you print those off, you pull out the receipts if you have them for those expenditures, and it's a lot easier to reconcile at that point, rather than you have one bank account and you get 10,000, 50,000, 100,000, 200,000 check into your system, and you commingle it with all of your other funds. It gets a lot more difficult to show how you spent that money. So the big thing is open up a second bank account for those PPP funds. And like I said, I don't know, and Dana and I think Amy has said, I don't know that they've come out with how do you reconcile, or I think they're flying by the seat of their pants. They're doing well just to get their application processed right now, let alone trying to figure out 8 weeks from now, okay, how do we prove, or how do we ask these PP loan recipients how to prove their forgiveness? So that's probably going to be forthcoming here probably in about 8 weeks. But so that's basically what I've been telling my clients.
Thank you, Guy. Any questions for Guy?
I got one.
Okay.
Hey, Guy, do you know, I was just thinking about this yesterday after you and I talked.
Mm-hmm.
What about any of the workman's comp expenses that we have to pay out of the general, our general insurance or general workman's comp costs?
That's a good question. I mean, I haven't heard of that expense being brought up. A lot of times those workman's comp are, it's a yearly premium, and whether it falls in that 8-week window, I don't know. And then there are some plans out there that will charge you maybe weekly or every month, every payroll, they'll make an exact workers' comp charge to you. And I don't know off the top of my head if that's a forgivable expense. From what I've read, I don't know if that's forgivable.
Okay.
With you.
Maybe once we get more guidelines, maybe we'll be able to see if that's on the list.
Right. Because I know you can deduct that premium right from your payroll, and it's a lot easier. It's a pay as you go rather than a large employer can be a big dollar amount.
Yeah.
And then they have an audit every year, and they square it up at that point, and you either get a refund or you owe some more money. And once they complete that workers' comp audit.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So for those who I've not met yet, Tim Campsell, I am a business coach. I work with business owners to lead and manage through the complexities of running and growing a business. And what I want to talk about today is a number of folks have said to me over the last couple of weeks of, hey, I've got my PPP, but my business is closed. So there's not really anything for my employees to be doing until, the doors open back up. What am I supposed to do? Because the clock started ticking. The 8 weeks starts ticking as soon as the money was deposited into my account. So what do I do? So what I've been recommending is this is a great time to be going back to the fundamentals of your business, right? Look at investing some time working on your business to get it prepared to open back up, right? There are a number of folks who have put their head in the sand and said, hey, the doors are closed. There's nothing I can do. I just got to wait it out. Right? Are going to be at a disadvantage versus those who are saying, hey, doors are going to be opening up in the next, let's call it 2 to 4 weeks. And here are all the things that I need to do to relaunch my business. And therefore, here are the activities that I can have employees working on. Right? And so I'm just going to go through a slide here. We call this the keys to a winning team. Clearly starts at the top with having strong leadership. So what are you doing as a business leader to grow and develop and become the leader that is required to guide and direct your team through this challenging time? Set yourself a goal for the organization, right? Have a common goal of what are you guys doing right now? What are you focusing on? What do the employees need to be doing to help you guys get ready to reopen and relaunch? Okay? Set the rules of the game. Okay? If you use a sandbox analogy or a sports field analogy, right? There's the boundaries, right? And as long as the players stay within the boundaries and they follow the rules, then they're able to play the game without being micromanaged. So you want to do that in your business as well, is set the guidelines, set the rules, have your employees know what is in and out of bounds, and then let them do their work, right? Don't micromanage of them, set them up for success. Develop an action plan, right? What are the things that need to get done over the next 1 to 8 weeks or 1 to 6 weeks, whenever the economy is going to open back up? What does everybody need to do within your business to get your business prepared to relaunch, and set them by weekly goals, or set them as weekly goals, and assign roles and responsibilities and give people specific direction on this is what I need you to focus on. Right? You want to support risk taking, right? So whether we're in a crisis or not, you don't want to have an environment where everybody feels like they have to ask you permission to do every single task. You want to enable them and empower them to be able to make their own decisions with that idea of, you've got a limited time as an owner. You can't be involved in all the minutia and all the day-to-day. So set your team up for to be able to take risks, right? Make it safe for them to fail and learn from their failures while having an overall safety net, right? So that the rules of the game are that overall safety net of, when they cross a certain line, you're going to jump in, but until they've crossed that line, you're going to let them flounder a little bit, because that's how we all grow. I've spoken about this in the past, but if you think about how children learn to walk, right? They learn to walk by making mistakes, right? And they fall down and they stumble and they trip and everyone around them is encouraging them and supporting them and cheering them on. So the toddler doesn't know that they're making mistakes. All they know is that they're doing exactly what they're supposed to do because of all the support that they're getting. So as a business owner, you need to be doing that for your team as well, right? Encourage them and support them and then give them that safety net so that they know that they can't fail too bad because you're going to jump in and save them, but they also know that you're going to let them, learn through some of the smaller mistakes. And then finally, you want to create an environment of 100% inclusion, 100% involvement, where they feel like they're part of the team, right? Even with us being, isolated, that you're still reaching out to your team on a daily basis and making them feel like they're part of the group, right? Have daily meetings with everybody, create an environment where it's like they were coming into the office every day, and that overall team camaraderie and involvement with the group. So there's a lot that can be done right now to be working on the business. All those things that over the past year when the economy was strong, you might have tucked under the rug, right? The problems that have surfaced that you said, I just don't have any time to do this, right? Challenges that you've had that you're like, hey, you know what? I just don't have enough time to work on this. Well, this is the ideal time to be focusing on that and getting your employees involved in that, right? Developing processes and procedures and best practices and scripts and how-to manuals and training videos and onboarding documents and all of that stuff that will make your business be able to run without you. Might as well have your employees start working on those things for you. Any questions on any of that? Okay, so I'm going to now just open it up to general Q&A to the panel, or just best practice sharing, struggles that you're having. We can now venture outside of the PPP discussion. We can just have an open forum of what's on people's mind. What questions do you have, or what best practices you want to share?
Hey, Tim, it's Chuck.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to follow up with what you were just talking about. I wrote some things down. You were talking about keeping communication. I think even if you put your employees, laid them off so they could collect the unemployment, stay in contact with them, because if you're wanting to bring them back, let them know that you're still engaged in bringing them back. Create a weekly Zoom video or a phone in where you're talking to all the employees, and whether you have departments and you're doing it by department, or if you're small and you got 3 or 4 employees. And then when you bring them back, celebrate it. Make it something so that they are like, oh yeah, we're back, we're a team. Because all the negativity prior to any of this, I'm guessing those office politic issues are most likely going to be kind of gone. And it may be a restart for some businesses who are having those internal problems within employees or whatever, because people have had time to be away from one another. So, and then make them feel like, they're part of everything within the business, like Tim was saying, whether it be from come up with a checklist for them to keep their area sanitized. And everybody has the same responsibilities at the same station before they come in every day, or when they leave every night and when they come in the morning, and create it to be a habit for your business. So that way they feel comfortable being there. They don't feel like it's a germ infested place that they don't feel comfortable, quote unquote, use the word today, feel safe in that workspace. You want them to want to come to work, back to work, not like somebody was saying earlier, stay home and collect more unemployment. So just a few insights on what you were talking about, Tim.
Yeah, thanks, Chuck. One of the biggest mistakes that businesses make is that they hire based on skills and experiences. And what that ends up doing is you are hiring people that are working for a paycheck. Instead of focusing on what's the vision of your organization, what's the greater purpose or the greater good that your company is providing in the marketplace, and what's your culture, what are your values and your beliefs, right? What makes you stand out or what makes you different, and hire based on that or recruit based on that. If you have people who are aligned to your greater purpose and you have people that are aligned to your values and your culture, then the pay becomes secondary, and you end up having people who are working for you because they believe in what you're doing, not just simply because of a paycheck. So we call that, making sure you've got the right people on the bus. And then secondarily is they're sitting in the right seat on the bus, meaning they have the right skills and experiences. Skills and experiences can be taught and trained. Culture fit and alignment to your vision can't be as easily taught and trained. So the other thing that I'm suggesting to folks is to really reflect on that right now, right? Think about the people that you have as part of your staff, and are they working for you because they believe in what you're doing? Well, let's even step back one step from that. Do you even know what your vision is? Do you have culture statements written out? Right? Can everyone in your organization play back, right, what the greater purpose is or the greater good of your company is, and tell people why it is that they work for you, right? And is it a heart and soul connection, or is it a skills and paycheck connection? And if it's the latter, then spend the time now to re-energize your organization, right? To really figure out what's your why, what's your purpose, right? Why do you exist? And if you know that, then it's easier to get employees to understand that and be part of that. Any other comments? Or
if you have a sales team or anybody that has product knowledge, use this time to train them. Use this time to re-educate them. Come up with a solution of what you're going to do when you roll out if you have a retail location. What is going to be that? Make sure everybody is crisp and knows that. So when you open those doors, you're not using that time to train them. Utilize this time. Send out a piece of information for them to know, and then talk to them about it. Have meetings with those guys on your new product information. Even if they're collecting unemployment, I'm sure they're going to be raring to go. I know a lot of people who want to go back to work that don't just want to sit home. That's what they're doing. They're studying up on knowledge to become better salespeople. So that might be a good way as an owner to get some new information in front of them, or re-educate them on things maybe you knew they were struggling on during the time when you were up and running. Use this time, because we're probably not going to get this time ever again.
Anything else people would like to share? All right. Okay, so I just got a couple more things to go through, and then we can have our time back for the rest of the day. So as a thank you for participating today, I'm offering a complimentary coaching session to everyone. This is a 2-hour deep dive into your business, right? Looking through the lens of what challenges are you facing, what opportunities are there within your business, using the action coach processes and methodologies and best practices to identify ways to take your business to the next level. At the end of that 2 hours, we really look at, hey, if we were to implement these strategies over the next 12 months, what would be the financial impact to the business? And is this something that you're interested in pursuing? So if you're interested in that, I'm going to send this information in a follow-up email and with my contact information, and you can reach out to me and we'll get that booked on calendars. More importantly, though, and this is kind of the theme that we were just talking about, is the biggest risk that you can take right now is nothing. So don't put your head in the sand. Don't say, hey, I'm just waiting for May 1st for the doors to open back up. Use this time to invest in building your business and addressing the things that have been challenges over the past 12 months and really set yourself up to come out strong when we do open back up. So I've got a couple of educational opportunities over the next week. On Tuesday, 6 steps to building a highly profitable business that can work without you. A few of you have been part of my 6-step seminar. This is one that I'm partnering with Michelle. Sorry, I just lost her last name in my head for a minute. Anyway, she's a photographer, and she's offering this class to her students and then opening it up to others. So if you haven't yet been part of this, would encourage that you do take part of it. It's about a 90-minute overview on how to build a great business based on best practices and things from Action Coach that have proven the test of time over the past 26 years. Secondly, we are being blessed with having a webinar hosted by Action Coach founder Brad Sugars. According to Entrepreneur Magazine, he is the world's #1 business coach, and he's offering a webinar next week on Friday. So we're going to adjust our regular Friday times that are usually at 1 to 2:30 to accommodate the time that he's available, which is 1:30 to 3. So if you've already registered for these Friday webinars, right, if you're on my distribution list, I'm just going to go ahead and register you for this. And if it's not something you're interested in, fine. But instead of you having to go through and register it all, it's easier for me to just do a cut and paste on my end. Okay. I've copied many of you on my LinkedIn advertisement for this. So please just spread the word. The whole thought process here is if we can save every business, we can save the economy. And so the more education that people can get on what things they should be doing, then we're going to be able to help more people. So this is free. Please spread the word. You guys are familiar with this, I believe. So Fridays, obviously, you're part of this one. I do another webinar on Wednesday mornings from 9:30 to 11. It's focused more on education as opposed to Q&A and forums like this one is. So I pick a topic each week that is relevant, and I do a deeper dive from a topic from the 6 steps, but I do a deeper dive into that. So if that's something you're interested in, again, I'll send that information in the follow-up email. Both of these are free. And then next steps. So at Action Coach, we're all about taking action to ensure that you guys are moving your businesses forward. So what I'd like you to do is write down the 5 ideas that you got from today's conversation that you need to take action on. And then make sure you have some process in place to hold yourself accountable, right? Whether it's a tracking system or a calendar reminder or an accountability partner, you want to make sure that you don't just write it down and leave it. That's one of the top areas that happen with businesses is, you come up with the great idea and the things that you need to apply to your business, and then you get caught up in the day-to-day, and that to-do list sits on your desk. So make sure you're putting something in place to hold yourself accountable. If you are interested in being a panelist in a future discussion, please let me know. I'm always looking for folks to join me and share your knowledge with the audience. I do record these and post them out on YouTube and promote them through social media. So as a panelist, you get more exposure than just the folks that are on here today. You get the exposure of the pre-marketing advertising as well as the post-webinar advertising, and to help you get your name out there. So let me know if you'd like to be involved in that. And then we always end these with a whiffle. And what a whiffle is what I feel like expressing. And there's no rules to it. It's just whatever's on your mind, whatever you want to share with the group as a way to conclude the conversation. And so I'm going to pick on the panelists, and we'll start with Amy going first. Amy, what do you feel like expressing? Oh, you're on mute.
My biggest thing right now is just like I'm, you know, like we're all like kind of in this together, and my biggest thing is just like, let's do this, guys.
All right, thank you, Amy. Guy, what do you feel like expressing?
Well, I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. And, you know, this is a difficult time, and we just need to keep plugging away.
Great, thank you. Caleb, what do you feel like expressing?
I think just excitement for how unique this time is, and the risk that it has, but also the opportunity that it has, and just thankfulness to God for being in control of every circumstance, including my future, and excited to see what He does.
Thank you, Caleb. Mark.
Unmute here. I would just say, you know, my way of thinking right now is I'm taking everything day to day, and I'm trying not to think too far in the future, and because, you know, that will stress me out. So I just take it day to day and just do my job and run my business and hope for the best and stay positive. And it's nice that we have these meetings, and we have the ability to come together as a team and meet up, and you understand that you're not the only one going through these hard times.
Great, thank you, Mark. Angela.
At the end of March, I was really looking forward to a 3-day weekend because I really needed a little time off. Well, now I've had a lot of time off, so I feel like I'm going to come back feeling rested and raring to go.
Great. Thank you. Heidi.
I'm feeling very excited. I actually started my business just last week. So this is a really bad time to be starting a business, but I'm very excited and hopeful that it will thrive, and everything will get back to normal pretty soon.
Great. Thank you, and thanks for joining us today. Scott.
Thank you for having me.
And Scott, what do you feel like expressing?
Well, I guess I'm just thankful that we could continue on with our business, and you know, this program hopefully will be a good shot in the arm to get the momentum going, get the business going again.
Great, thank you, Scott. And Chuck.
I am thankful for my customers, because after our meeting last week, I got back on the phone and closed 2 more deals last Friday. So I'm thankful for the customers who are appreciative of our mission of giving back to veterans. And that's really important. I was actually telling Todd, and I'm thankful for Todd because Todd is amazing. So if you need web help, you got to get a hold of Todd. And I'm thankful for Todd because Todd's been working with me and giving me good ideas. And we've been meeting once a week for the last couple of weeks. And he's really been helping me where to market and how to market. And it's definitely improving, and we're getting about 2 sales a week. So I'm definitely appreciative for that. So, and for you, Tim, for having these meetings, because every week I learn something new. So thank you.
You're very welcome, and congratulations on the sales. You'll have to give Todd a hard time, because when I said we're going to do the wiffle, he got off the call because he doesn't enjoy the wiffle. So I just texted him and gave him a hard time and told him to get back on. What I feel like expressing is gratitude for you guys, to Guy and Amy and Dana for joining us this week and sharing their wisdom. Thank you very much for the generosity of your time. For the rest of the folks, I appreciate you joining us each week. You sharing your stories and asking questions is just an encouragement for me to continue to do these. And I get a lot of value out of just hearing the way that you guys are implementing the different components in your business and the way that you're pivoting. To Chuck's point about making calls, we actually have a little competition within our our first year coaches here within the Midwest area. And we each say on Thursday afternoons what our weekly goal is for the week of making calls. And then we hold each other accountable through a daily conversation on WhatsApp of, are we doing what we said we're going to do? So I'm happy to say that my goal this week was 50, and I got to 63 this morning, and got a couple of meetings out of that. A lot of voicemails, but to Chuck's point, right? It's just a matter of doing the activity. So if you don't have your marketing 10 by 10 in place, and all of you have been to one of my seminars, so you know what I'm talking about. The idea is you've got 10 different marketing strategies, and each one accounts for about 10% of your leads, right? I again encourage you, don't put your head in the sand, right? Now is just as good a time as any to be marketing and to be selling, right? We just have to be more sensitive and more patient and more understanding, but there's business to be had. So make sure that you're continuing to hold yourself accountable and get out there and drum up some more business. So that's what I feel like expressing, and thank you all very much for joining us today. And if there's nothing else, we'll wish you all off a great afternoon, and you've still got a couple hours to close some more deals.